I tell athletes every year, if we win, it's because of you guys. You guys came together and you guys decided as a group, as a collective, to go through this journey, to hold each other accountable. Because there's things you guys are going to know about each other that we're not going to know. There's things that are going to be said about one another or to coach, without the coach, or in any of these sentiments, you're going to know before we do sometimes. And it's up to you guys to come.
Welcome to the We Got Problems podcast with co-hosts Curtis G. Martin, Rhonda L. Brown, and Khalif Johnson Sr., the one and only podcast where solutions get discussed to our community's everyday troubles. Each week, you will hear mind-blowing conversations and actionable tips and strategies that you can implement in your daily life to become more effective. We got problems and we got solutions.
All right, you guys, welcome to the show. This is We Got Problems, the podcast. I'm Curtis G. Martin. I'm here with my co-host, Rhonda L. Brown.
Hey, everybody.
Khalif Johnson Sr.
Hey, y'all, how y'all doing?
Lashika Phillips.
Hey, everybody.
And we have a special guest in the house today, Chris Richardson. Chris, why don't you go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
I'll keep it short. My name is Chris Richardson. I'm the director of track and field and cross country at Cerritos Community College, where I'm an alumni. I went to Downey High School, then Cerritos, then Long Beach State. So kind of stayed in that kind of South Bay, going up through Long Beach area. For me personally, I'm a father of three. I'm a husband, and that's a full-time job in itself. It's probably my greatest joy, the number one priority in my life. But I'm so fortunate to have fulfillment to be able to work with young people on a regular basis. And I also am the vice chair for USA Track and Field Coaches Education. So all things kind of coaches education, I'm in there. And when it comes to that, I also teach the USA Track and Field Coaches certifications. I kind of moonlight as a business person. COVID kind of got my wheels turning. So I've been fortunate to have a couple of endeavors with a couple businesses and little projects that I've been able to explore over the last 3 to 4 years now. So outside of that kind of sums up the day in the life of me. And that's enough.
Cool.
Okay. Can you tell us about your journey as a track and field athlete and how it influenced your coaching career?
Oh, as an athlete, it's funny. I was just talking to my middle son, Cameron, about when it came to youth sports, I didn't do youth sports. It was just me and my mom growing up, and we didn't even know that you can sign up for sports. I didn't participate in organized sports or any sport. My first basketball game, I was, I think I was skateboarding or something, hanging out with some friends. And one of my friends played on a team, and his dad saw me, who was coaching, was like, "Hey, come play." I was like, "I've never played this before. Never played basketball." And I was a little bit tall, and I was maybe 5'10", 6 foot going into 8th grade. So yeah, it was the end of the 8th grade year. I got involved in basketball, and I was just running up and down the court, and they kind of sunk their teeth in me, and I started playing basketball. I thought ball was life for a while. Then I got pretty good, and my position, people started growing and I didn't. So realized basketball was short-lived, but then I fell in love with football and started playing football at high school at Downey High. And so for me, track was a back burner. I didn't even do track. And to be honest with you, I would never have done track if it wasn't for one of my basketball friends, Larry Cunningham, who says, "Yeah, basketball's going to help you with your hops. You get to hang out with the girls. It's going to be a good time." I'm like, "I don't know, man. You running this?" No, we're not running. We're going to jump. And so that's what he had me at. We're not running. And so I never was a state champion or anything like that in high school, but did pretty good. Thought I was going to play football at Cerritos College. Realized football at the college level is a totally different game. It is it has a little level of politics with it, and there is a little level of that subjectivity, objectivity where I thought I was better than somebody, but the eyes of the coach thought it was something else. So I was like, you know what, let me fall back on these track and field roots. Went to the coach's office. He says, "You look like a decathlete." I was like, "Cool. What you gotta give me more than that, man. I don't even know what you're talking about." He's like, "It's 10 events." And he started rattling them off, right? He was like, because first day, his 2-day event, 10 events. It's the 100, the long jump, high jump, shot put, and the 400. Come back the next day, you have hurdles, discus, pole vault, javelin, and you end up with the 1500. I said, why not? I'm not doing football. I might as well do this track thing. And so from there, he kind of, Doug Wells, who was actually part of the first NCAA men's decathlon championships in history. And so he kind of got me under his wing, showed me all the events, met with me early, taught me how to do all this stuff. My first year as a state champion, and going at the end of that first year, I got to go to the junior nationals where I was an All-American and got a chance to kind of see what like Team USA was all about. Then going into my sophomore year at Cerritos, I signed with Long Beach State. I had a lot of offers, but Long Beach State, I found that I could maximize my potential. They had great coaches. Dave Rada was like my everything. Coach Dave Rada, he recruited me to Long Beach State. And so at Long Beach State, I spent 3 years there, and I got my bachelor's degree in religious studies, liberal arts. A lot of people don't know that, but I went into the counselor's office and I asked him, I go, well, I want to be a kinesiology major. And they said, you're going to have to miss practice 2 days a week. I said, it's not an option. So I went to the catalog and I saw that the religious studies had like that many classes. So I signed up. But what I did is I worked the system because I was able to take all my prerequisites for grad school in the midst of, getting my bachelor's in a year and a half. And at Long Beach State, I was a 2-time NCAA Division I All-American. I got to compete for Team USA, make multiple Team USA teams as an athlete. But throughout my years, my philosophy was I'm just going to train harder than everybody else because I never felt, and I don't think I was ever as gifted as everybody else. So I just said, I'm just going to grind. I'm just going to work harder. So for me, more was better. And I didn't realize the toll it was going to take on my body. My first year, I got a stress fracture in my spine, which kind of limited me a little bit. Then my last year at Long Beach State, I found out in February of that season where I was ranked like number 1. I was, kind of even touted to make the Olympic team in 2008. Found out a couple very important things. Well, one, my son was going to be born the March of that year. So I was going to have my first child. Then 2, I found out I tore my meniscus. I was wondering why my knee was swollen up. And I was ignoring it. I was just like, I'll just shake it off. And, somebody, I think it was one of the student trainers was like, you might want to get that looked at. So they made me go get an MRI, do all that, found out my meniscus was torn. So I made the decision not to get surgery that year, finished at the Olympic trials, like 13th or something. And that was like my real last competitive meet as an athlete. And so that kind of springboarded me into coaching because all the while, since I actually got to Cerritos, I coached every year from when I was at Cerritos College all the way through till now. I haven't missed a year of coaching since 2003.
Yeah. Okay. So you've had an impressive coaching career, right? Including leading the Cerritos College men and women team to state championships. What factors do you believe contribute to your team's success?
It's funny because I was actually kind of dwelling on that a little bit this year because you don't really think about it. You're just like, I'm going to grind. I'm going to get the best athletes I can. I'm going to recruit. I'm going to do my stuff. I'm going to do everything I need to do. When you're in it, you don't really pay attention to what's all going on. This year, actually, I was voted, by the coaching body as coach of the year. And as a state coach of the year, I was like thinking like, to me, I'm like, this stuff I do every year is no different. And in my eyes, I'm like, I want to pass this on to my other coaches. They deserve it. Like they were grinding, they were working. But when you ask like what contributes to team success, in my opinion, is like my number one goal is the individual. And I'm going to do everything possible to make sure that they're going to be successful for whatever that is. Some people want to go into nursing school. Some want to move on and be professional athletes. Some just want to have a great college experience, and everybody in between. And like my number one purpose every day is like, okay, what can I innovate? What can I build? What can I do that's going to help give them a great experience and put them in a position to be successful? And like, I mean, I'm talking about doing camps, doing clinics, making sure like I go to, my wife is funny because, I'm so grateful to have her because I go everywhere. My number one goal, I want to be everywhere. I want to do everything because I don't want to miss something and my athletes don't get the luxury or the opportunity to be exposed to that thing just because I didn't know about it. And so I put it upon myself to make sure that no stone goes unturned when it comes to like resources, information, knowledge, innovation, everything. And I think it's part of that coupling to where it's where our athletes kind of feel empowered, one, and then two, they feel supported at every turn. And so I think about that. And then most importantly, just building a good team. I mean, without the coaches and people around me, like I wouldn't be anything, right? Like, and I have had a lot of success and I've seen some great things happen, but it's all due to the mentors and people that poured into me and believed in me. And then also the people I have around me. Like, for instance, I mean, I can go through our whole coaching staff, but I love surrounding my people with people that are better than me, especially in specific areas. Because like I'm a true introvert. I am an introvert. Like you look up in the dictionary introvert, you'll see my picture right there. Okay. But so like I have people like Coach Jones where I'm like, hey, who's that? Go in, go meet them. And then he'll go meet them because that just is not who I am. But then I'll just nuzzle up next to him and just kind of slide in the conversation, and it just helps me, because being in those big social environments is exhausting for me. It's hard, but like I said, I have so many great people around me that kind of help kind of cultivate that whole thing.
Okay. I think Sheikah might be froze.
Oh, she is.
I thought she was just listening really well.
That's pretty good. She listening hard. So in your 10-year season as head coach at Cerritos College, what coaching strategies have you found most efficient in building a strong team and supportive environment?
Like when it comes to a strong, like my athletes team or like the support staff and my crew.
Let's go with both.
Okay. Yeah, because like I think of those things very different. I think like strategy wise, like coaching and being an effective coach for me, my philosophy is like waned and shifted and molded all kinds of different ways. Like I used to feel that I wasn't very empathetic, and now like I realize the level of empathy that I implore my athletes is very different, because I think one of the biggest crossroads for me recently was like I want to hold my athletes to a certain standard, but then like I don't want them to fail, or I don't want them to fall short of what my expectations are. So it's like I was really at a crux. Like, do I lower my standards so that I can meet the athletes at where they are? And I realize, and like I said, part of like mentors and people around me, no, I hold my standard and I just kind of constantly try to bring them up. And when they come down, I meet them down just to bring them back up. And I try like be consistent with what my expectations are and what excellence is, and just kind of meet the athlete where they are individually, because every athlete needs something different. And it's hard for me as a coach because I might get stuck in my own world. But I think like for me recently, I would say definitely being implementing empathy in the way that I do, in terms of being able to work and kind of mold to individuals, building the team around me. Like I said before, just building people that, or be like, at least really harnessing people that are better than me, like who is the best, and like who has gifts and skills that I might not have, or might not be as efficient as they are. And so making sure that I do that, because the people I have around me, like I said, being an introvert, I don't have this huge network, but the people I do have around me are family, and I hold them dear, and I'll do anything for them, and I do everything every day to make sure that they know that. And so I put a lot of pride in making sure that I take care of the people around me.
Good stuff.
Wow. I don't know how I got booted, but I'm sure I missed some good nuggets there. Oh my God, it was so good. And I had a question, I'm sure it got asked. So I may have two questions really quick for you. I wanted to find out because, and I'm sure you are aware of this, Khalif maybe has shared with you, that most of the audience and followers for We Got Problems podcast are entrepreneurs or in business. And you shared a lot about when you first was doing your introduction about how you have been getting into business. And I'm curious to hear what strategies and leadership skills that you see in coaching, are you able to bring that into business? And this question really is sparked from another guest we recently had. She started out as a teacher and ended up going into another business, but started bringing her teaching skills like into that business, was just remarkable. So I'm curious to see if you have seen some intersectionality there.
Yeah, no, for sure, 1000%. Because I
Okay.
think the thing that knocked me off my horse um, was there's a guy named Gary Vanderchuck, right? Gary V. He's a big, kind of social media entrepreneur, business guy. And I followed him. I thought he was pretty cool. And I got a chance to meet him. And I asked him, I go, hey, so I want to innovate and I want to do things and I want to introduce, new things. But like, how do I do that and fight the bureaucracy of higher education? He looked at me dead in the face. He goes, you can't. And my jaw dropped, like, because I have it recorded, right? Like I just was stunned. I'm like, this is not my, and he saw me and he kind of like, kind of laughed. He was like, it's not made to do that. Like, that is not the system. Like, you can't, they're confined. They have limitations. And it just, like I said, hit me like a ton of bricks, knocked me off my horse. And on that ride home, like I said, that's where I guess that more entrepreneurial spirit kind of came up into me, because I am innovative. I want to do things. I want to fix problems. I want to introduce stuff. I want to kind of move and shake and build as much as I possibly can. And in higher education, you can't do that because it does have limitations. It is a bureaucracy, and it serves its purpose. But like I realized, like I don't have to put that energy or that level of spirit into that just because I'm there as a coach. I can do it on my own. And so that's what kind of led me to do that. And I would say some of the, like, just perseverance. Like I mean, I can get beat in the head and it is not going to phase me. Like I'm going to be able to roll up and do it again. Like there's times where I might show up to a meet and maybe I just didn't prepare my athletes well for that meet. And we got beat over. And okay, what do we got to do to make sure this don't happen again? And sometimes it's all about like taking those hits, taking those blows and being able to roll with them. Like that perseverance for me is like the number one thing, because as anybody that's ever tried to start a business or does any business endeavors, just because you got a plan doesn't mean it's going to go like that. Like, you think people are going to reply a certain way to your email. You might think, something that you thought was simple, or an application, or dealing with Amazon, whatever it is, right? You think it's going to go one way and it goes a complete other. And sometimes it could be very discouraging. And I think if I didn't have that perseverance, I think it would have kind of like, I mean, out of the gate, I would have just stumbled, fell on my face and be like, oh, I guess it's not supposed to be now. But for me, I was like, no, like I'm gonna make this work. Okay, what do I got to do? I got to pivot. I got to move. Okay, don't do that again. And so I think that is like the number one attribute in terms of like communication and building relationships. I think that's another one that allows me, just because like I'm in my heart of hearts, like I'm a giver. Like I want to give. And so I find like my peace, my value in, okay, how can I serve? How can I give? And then learning how to, okay, there are takers in the world. There are people that are matchers or people that move differently. That shouldn't negate or discourage me from operating how I feel is appropriate. And with that being said, like that's kind of how I kind of taken some of the things I have as a coach and, kind of channeled it more in a business sense.
Okay. So winning a state championship is a remarkable achievement. Can you share some of the challenges you faced during those championship seasons?
I mean, I think back, and without going into too much detail or, going too personal and other people's stuff, like we've had, young people, facing thoughts and things like of suicide, people going through like eating disorders, people becoming homeless, athletes dying, coaches passing away in the midst of a season. I mean, everything short of athletes going to jail, getting pregnant, and I mean, abuse, all this stuff, like all those moments, all those things, like when you say state championship, I think people. I think every state championship, I think of the people, the moments, the growth, the highs, the lows, everything that went into it, right? And like I said, when I think about championships, I just think about like more so, And I know it's kind of cliche, but that journey, like what was that? What were the steps to that? And there was one year, it was at Bakersfield. I want to say it was 2018. We had a great team. We had an amazing group of athletes. We won, I think out of the 21 track events, we won 8 or 9 of them, but we didn't win the state championship. We got second. But I consider that such a successful season because I watch people grow and mold and become like now, like I'm looking back at these individuals, like they have families now, they're doing some amazing things. And the way that season kind of catapulted those individuals into what is now their level of adulthood and moving on from Cerritos. Like I look back and I'm like, wow, that was such a huge success of a season. So yeah, like getting that big trophy, that's a lot of fun. But I always think when every ring or every state championship has like all those little blemishes, all those little notches and moments and kind of personal stories, but at the same time, nonetheless, it's very very critical to me.
Okay, you spoke on family, right? So, it's really important when you speak on family to any of us because family is everything to us. And as a coach, you focus on building teams and a sense of family. How do you foster the family-like atmosphere amongst your athletes and your staff?
I think empower, like I don't make any unilateral decisions. And because I tell athletes every year, if we win, it's because of you guys. You guys came together and you guys decided as a group, as a collective, to go through this journey, to hold each other accountable. Because there's things you guys are going to know about each other that we're not going to know. There's things that are going to be said about one another or to coach, without the coach, or, in any of these sentiments, you're going to know before we do sometimes. Mm-hmm. And it's up to you guys to come together. And so, like I said, that when I think about it, I always think about empowerment. Even my coaches, like I'm very laissez-faire. Like I don't like, you're the jump coach the jumps. Mm-hmm. You do this, then do that. And let me know what you need. If we don't have enough funds, I'm gonna go get the money so we can fund that, so I can get you new starting blocks. Okay, you need these guys to have these kind of spikes. All right, they got them. They need this. I'm gonna make sure we got it. And you should never be. None of my coaches should ever be without. They should never be in a position where like, dang, if we had. No, mm-hmm. I'm gonna make sure we got it. I'm gonna make sure we go to the meets that you need to go to. Every year, I make sure that my captain's council, I kind of create a captain's council where we pick people from the different event groups that are selected by their peers, and they give me feedback. Okay, what track meets you want to go this year? Okay, mm-hmm. Hey, these are your options here. Boom, boom, boom. Which ones do you sound? This is my opinion. There's going to be more opportunity here. The weather is not that good at this time of year here. Mm-hmm. But, this is going to be like this. But then if we do this, we can't do that. And it kind of allows them to engage in that. And so for me, like I said, it's not like it has a level of sincerity to it. Like I don't do it flippantly. I do it like, really wanting to have them be a huge part of everything we do. And so that really helps. All the way down to picking the food. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, like what food do we bring at a track meet? What food do we pick up? One year we had a group that really liked bananas. One year we had a group that really liked Chick-fil-A, and mm-hmm. It just changes, right? Like, all the way down to those little details. That's kind of the level of involvement I want our team, like from coaches to athletes, to have.
You Khalif and Khalif just mentioned family, and I think, like he said, that's something that all of us value wholeheartedly. And you just said something so important. You shared how you anticipate or how you envision, your team working together and navigating, and that was great. I'm curious, as a Black man who is married, who is a father, looking on the other side, what advice do you give parents, especially fathers, who are struggling? How do I get in to help? Or how do I get in to be, a support? I'm curious to see if you have any advice in that in that way. I can imagine parents do want to get involved, and especially fathers, right? We're talking about sports and athletes and predominantly male students. I'm assuming, correct me if my assumption is wrong. And I just imagine that there may be fathers that need a little help or direction or guidance. How do I get active?
This is it's funny you brought that up because like that is something I've always struggled with. I mean, a little bit of background, like I didn't grow up with my dad. And so like for me, I look back and I took like all my friends that had dads, I took a little bit from all of them. Like, what is the best thing? And I didn't do it knowingly, right? I just subconsciously like, I like the way they do that. And like that helped mold me, right? And gave me my like I guess vision of what it is to be a father. And I even now it's hard, like there is no right answer, right? But
Right.
like how to give a dad advice. Like my son's doing basketball right now. My middle son's doing football, basketball, and like to help give them some perspective or give some perspective. I've coached them their whole lives pretty much. And like my oldest son, he got to a point in basketball where I was no longer able to be his coach. Not because like of a riff or anything like that. His like the level that he was operating at surpassed where I was at as a coach. And people always ask like, "Oh, your sons do track?" And I'm like, "No, they don't want nothing to do with track." Like, and I've never taken. I think they both like did a middle school meet. I think at least once or something, but I don't even know. I don't even know if I would call that track. But when it comes to other sports and like how to be engaged, definitely dad should make sure that they're listening to their sons or even their daughters when they tell them what they want to do. And we all know better. But I always think back to like there's that saying, man, if I knew then what I know now.
Yes.
But the thing is, you even if you did know at that time, you probably wouldn't know what to do with that information. Just because we didn't have those lived experiences. Those lived experiences gives that information context. And so for me, it's kind of making sure that I'm there. Like if you need me to rebound for you, I'm a rebound for you. What do you need me to do? And then sometimes it's about being real with them. Like now I'm at this point with my older son where I'm having to be like very straight up with him. Like this is how this is. Getting him ready because if you're going to be playing basketball at the college level, it is a business.
Yeah.
And you have to now I'm trying to give him nuggets so that he could have in his Rolodex to when he is faced with those experiences and those moments that he can reflect on those moments, because anything that I give him right now with a lot of stuff, even college, it's just not going to resonate. It's just not. And so I have to make sure I give him as much information and support as I possibly can. But yeah, that is a tough one. That is a ever lasting struggle, I think.
I appreciate your response. I think that a lot of parents and mainly fathers can glean a lot from what you just shared. So I appreciate you being transparent and vulnerable in that moment. Like that was perfect. Really appreciate that.
All right. So with all your years of coaching and your experience, how have the strategies over the years of coaches changed?
I think like technology has really played a huge part in that. When you look back at like when I was an athlete, the access and the vastness of like YouTube did not exist. I do like coaches seminars and I call it YouTube University, because if you want to learn something, you want to figure something out, you go to YouTube and you will get it. And if you're kind of savvy, you'll figure it out. Like when it comes to like access of information, there's so much information. But what I try to tell coaches that I mentor and teach is that I'm teaching you some of the science or the fundamental components so you can learn how to discern between what's valid and what's not, what's credible and what's not. And I think that's the paradox we're in right now, because we do have vast access or like a lot of information that, okay, what is relevant and what's not, like learning how to, figure that part out. I would think from a strategic standpoint, I think things are, I think like talent is being identified earlier and earlier now. So before you used to have diamonds in the rough. Well, the whole advent of an athlete being a diamond in the rough is probably not going to be in existence in the next 2 to 3 years. And it's getting that the margin of like diamond in the rough is getting so much smaller now. So because everybody's specializing so much earlier, that there's not going to be a lot of those opportunities to kind of cultivate that diamond in the rough in whatever sport. And so for coaches, I think it's up to us to make sure that we are maybe aware of that. And an athlete that does want to pivot, from basketball or football to track, or track to football or anything, just because they might have not had access to it because of the level of specialization that's happening. And so that's kind of where I would say, where, just outside of just generalizing the term technology, but taking it one step further and how it's affecting us from a societal standpoint. That's kind of how I think coaching is kind of shifting right now.
Yeah, that's amazing, because two things you said. One was the YouTube. I was just telling Khalif how I have a sports under my save, and I save little training techniques under my sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
Drills I want my son to work on, and then when they're really good, I download the video and send to him, right? Another one is the even kids now. I go to some of these camps, and the kids are into nutrition already. Right, like they into exercises on getting the ankles strong, right? Like I'm going, whoa, they on a different level, right? So, like you said, that diamond in the rough probably won't be no more, because they all being polished.
Yep. Earlier and earlier.
So the next section is a rapid fire. It's a quick, 15-second answer. Whatever comes to mind first. What's your why? What makes you do what you do?
Like building anything, building greatness, building people, building friendships, building relationships, anything, building.
Okay, in your coaching career, were there ever times that you thought that it wouldn't work?
Oh yeah, early on I was going to be a sheriff, then I was going to be a CHP officer, then I got some interest in the world of finance. So there were many times where I was like, I don't know about this.
Wow. Okay. So most important life lesson.
Don't take things personal. Like things are going to happen, and sometimes it's easy to take it personal, but like I realize that just creates more stress on me, and no one else actually even cares about what happened but me. And so I don't take things personal. I wait, and if I need to find out more information, I do.
All right. If you could turn back the hands of times and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you say?
Get your head out of your ass. I don't know. No, I would say you're greater than you think, because I learned confidence later in life, and so you're greater than you think.
Okay. Do you have an accountability partner, mentor, coach?
Yeah, I have quite a few in different aspects of life. I definitely, I have coaches that I look at, and allow me to kind of vent and be vulnerable there. I have people, and sometimes they're not the same person as the person I would go to about family stuff and like how to be an accountable father and husband. And then I have business people that, are in that world of business, and that I can kind of go to and kind of glean some insight on, and how to, be a better business person or entrepreneur.
Okay. This is a good one for me. If you could sit down and have a conversation with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Right now, like I'll stick to this. Kara Lawson, she's the coach. She's the women's basketball coach at the University of Duke, and like she is a breath of fresh air when it comes to leadership. Like no one, like I haven't heard anybody talk about leadership and communicate it the way she has. Her perspective on leadership is new, very fresh.
3 things you're investing in.
Oh, myself, for sure. Learning how the self-care, self-love, everything. Like and that's fairly new, really, to be honest with you. 3 things I'm investing in my kids. Like, I mean, all 3 of my kids now are pretty serious about, sports and things like that. So, I mean, like we got back from a basketball tournament. I took my daughter to go kick the soccer ball, run some hills. I took my son to go do some football stuff, and like, it doesn't matter what's going on with me. Like, those things are very important. And in my relationship with my wife, I think, I think that's something that, is through the rigmarole of life, it's easy to lose sight of. So I would say those are my 3 things that I'm focusing on and investing in.
All right. If you could recommend one book, what would it be?
Right now, I like, you got me there. Because I just read like 2 really good books. Outliers. I would say Outliers for sure. I love Outliers.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your best tip for making our community a better place?
Collaborate, even if it don't make sense.
Mm-hmm. All right, here goes the most important question. Where can the people find you at?
I'm at Cerritos College all day, every day. So you can hit that's where I'm at. Steve Richardson at cerritos.edu. And yeah, that's where I'm going to be till these hands of time stop ticking for me.
All right. You have anything you want to leave the people with?
No, I just appreciate you guys taking this time and, kind of being able to kind of see what you guys are about and being able to kind of catch up and be informed about, the things that you guys are all doing. So definitely kind of blessed to have people like you, kind of sharing the good word and kind of putting out positivity and information. So, anybody that's willing and ready can grow and learn. So appreciate you all.
Cool. Khalif, you have anything you want to leave the people with?
Oh man, this is my big brother. This is my mentor. This is who I go to when I have any questions, any problems, anything that I need to talk to. He is a man amongst men. I really appreciate you for doing this interview, bro. This means way more than you know to the community.
All right, cool. How about you, Rhonda?
I'm going to go back to something he said earlier. When he said he really didn't know what he could do. So I would say, believe in yourself, no matter what age. No, I don't care if you're 90, you got to start at some point.
All right, cool. Lashika, you laughing at that 90, but go ahead, Lashika.
That's right, because I was laughing also too, because my comment is kind of on a different spectrum, not to the people that's 90, but what I was going to say for everybody, that taking this episode, think about if there are children in your family or in your community who are involved in, maybe it's not athletics, maybe it's something else, maybe they're involved with something academic. My point is, there are millions, and I'm being optimistic, but there are millions of Chris Richardsons all over the world, right? Tap into the Chris Richardson in your community. See how you can be a support system. That's what I want to leave the people with.
No, that's good, Lashika, because I was on the same terms as that. I was going to say to everybody listening, if you have the opportunity, I know, Chris, you said you grew up without your father there. I grew up without mine, and we take bits and pieces what we feel can work, and we still meshing and still learning. Hey, if you have the opportunity while you're out there, give somebody a ride to practice. Give somebody a ride home. That kid can't make it no other way unless you gave him that extra ride, right? To give him that hope. You guys, because we have problems and we also have solutions, and we out.
From the team at CRC Empire, we want to thank you for listening. To stay connected with us, like, share, and subscribe to the We Got Problems podcast. You can find us on social media platforms at Curtis Martin 247, at Rhonda Wrights Official, and at the_trash_vegan_. We got problems and we got solutions.